Before the scar, before the coin toss, before the chaos, there was Harvey Dent, Gotham's White Knight, a man who believed in justice, order, and the power of law to save a city drowning in corruption. But even the brightest light casts a Dent would soon eclipse everything he fought to protect. Born and raised in the grim alleys of Gotham's working-class East End, Harvey Dent understood hardship from an early age. His father, an alcoholic and abusive figure, left scars on Harvey's psyche long before fate would mark his face. To the outside world, he became a symbol of rising above one's past. Inside, however, demons lurked waiting for the perfect storm. Harvey excelled at Gotham University, graduating top of his class in criminal law. Driven by an unshakable need to bring down the city's crime lords, he quickly rose through the ranks of the district attorney's office. Charismatic, passionate, and razor-sharp in the courtroom, Dent became the youngest DA in Gotham's history. The media dubbed him Gotham's White Knight. Citizens clung to hope through him. Even Batman saw in him a potential partner who could fight crime from within the system. But Harvey's crusade wasn't without cost. His relentless pursuit of justice made him powerful enemies, chief among them Carmine Falcone, Gotham's reigning mob boss. Dent launched aggressive prosecutions against Falcone's organization, dismantling layers of corruption that reached into the police department, the mayor's office, even the courts. But Falcone didn't play by the rules. He struck back with bullets, but with whispers, bribes, and subtle threats that poisoned the walls around Dent. Still, Harvey stood strong. With allies like Commissioner Gordon and Batman, he pushed forward a case that could cripple Falcone's empire. But it was in the courtroom on the day that justice was meant to be served that Harvey's world-shattered daughter, key witness, was about to testify against Falcone. But as the proceedings began, a mysterious figure appeared in the gallery. Sal Maroni, another rival crime boss with his own ambitions. In an act of brutal symbolism, Maroni hurled acid at Dent's face during his testimony. The courtroom erupted. In chaos, the substance burned through Harvey's skin like fire, searing half of his face into a grotesque mask of pain and rage. The White Knight was broken. Doctors did what they could. Skin grafts, surgery, pain management. But no procedure could heal what had been damaged beneath the surface. The trauma had torn open something far deeper, something that had always existed. Within Dent, the voice of doubt, of wrath, of chaos. The coin he once used to calm his nerves, the silver dollar his father would flip before each beating took on a darker purpose. It became his moral compass. One side unblemished, the other scarred, just like him. The city watched in horror as their hero disappeared from public life. Rumors swirled. Some said he died, others whispered of something worse. In truth, Harvey Dent was reborn, not as a man of law, but as a judge, jury, and executioner. The man who once believed in justice now trusted only chance. From the shadows, a new figure emerged to face. Half man, half monster, a criminal mastermind whose decisions were governed not by logic or law, but by the flip of a coin. He didn't seek power or money, only balance, to punish the guilty and the innocent alike, depending on fate's whim. Gotham's greatest hope had become one of its greatest threats. But Two-Face wasn't just another villain. He was a reflection of Gotham itself, torn between order and chaos, light and shadow, good and evil. And though Batman would try time and again to redeem him, deep inside, Harvey Dent's war was no longer with the city, it was with himself, and the coin never lead. The courtroom had once been his sanctuary, a place where truth held power and justice, at least in theory, prevailed. Harvey Dent stood at the center of it, all his words sharp, his presence magnetic, his belief in the law unshakable. But behind every prosecution, behind every verdict, was a darker reality he refused to confront, one that would soon consume him. Carmine Falcone's reach had grown longer than even Dent had feared. Corrupt judges, compromised jurors, dirty cops. Harvey's war against the mob wasn't just uphill, it was unwinnable. And yet, he fought. He raged in courtrooms and shadowy offices, relentless in his crusade to cleanse Gotham's soul. But corruption fights back. During the infamous trial that would have finally put Falcone behind bars, Harvey Dent was ambushed in the courtroom, an act of violent retribution orchestrated by Sal Maroni, the mob's latest figurehead. As acid splashed across his face, the searing agony wasn't just physical, it was psychological. In seconds, the man who had once been Gotham's White Knight was left half blind, half burned, and wholly broken. In the sterile halls of Gotham General, something more sinister began to take shape. The surgeons saved his life, but they could not save his mind. Harvey's disfigured face became a mirror of the chaos he now saw in the world. The scars were not just skin deep, they etched themselves into his very soul. Friends like Bruce, Wayne and Commissioner Gordon tried to reach him, but the man they knew had already started to fracture. He began to speak in two choices, two voices, two Harveys, and then there was the coin. A silver dollar, once a childhood keepsake, now became his guiding principle. One side pristine, the other scorched. Chance became his new law. Where once he relied on facts, evidence, and moral clarity, now he left decisions to fate. The coin didn't just absolve him, it gave him purpose. The man who emerged from that hospital room wasn't Harvey Dent. He was Two-Face. Driven by a twisted sense of justice, Two-Face began targeting those he once swore to protect. Judges, attorneys, politicians, those who betrayed the system were judged by his coin. Their lives balanced on a 50-50 edge. He saw himself as the cure to Gotham's rot, the enforcer of impartial justice where the law had failed. But in truth, he had become something far worse than the corruption he once fought. This wasn't just a descent into madness, it was a philosophical rebirth. Two-Face's methods were brutal, calculated, and terrifying. He knew the inner workings of the law, and he weaponized that knowledge to dismantle it. Crime scenes became symbolic, his duality marked on every wall, every victim a grotesque reminder that fairness, in his world, meant flipping a coin. Batman, once his ally, became his opposition. Their encounters were more than physical battles. They were ideological wars. Bruce saw Harvey not as a villain to be destroyed, but as a man who could still be saved. But for Two-Face, Batman represented the very hypocrisy he now rejected, a man with rules, trying to tame a city without them. And yet, deep inside the monster, a part of Harvey still screamed. There were nights when he stood before a mirror, the good side of his face staring into the abyss, the ruined side mocking him. In those rare moments, Harvey would whisper prayers into the void, as if hoping someone restore what was lost. But the coin always interrupted. The flip would come, and with it, Harvey Dent would vanish once again into the shadows of his darker self. Two-Face was no longer at war with Gotham. He was at war with himself. And in Gotham, that war never ends. The fall of Harvey Dent was not merely a tragedy, it was a cataclysm. Gotham's White Knight had become its most haunted figure. No longer the district attorney who fought corruption with fiery speeches and iron will. He was now the fractured soul, stalking the very shadows he once swore to illuminate. The monster called Two-Face was born not just from acid and agony, but from Betrayerland. He vowed that the city that betrayed him would suffer in kind. As Two-Face, Harvey found twisted clarity. His infamous silver coin, scarred on one side, pristine on the other, became more than a symbol. It was law, it was justice. In a city where order had failed him, chance would now rule. Every major decision, every life spared or ended, was determined by a flip. Heads, they lived. Tails, they died. He no longer trusted morality or law, only fate. Crime bosses, lowlifes, and even former allies felt the sting of his new vision. But Two-Face was no common criminal. His vendetta was surgical. He targeted Gotham's elite, exposing hypocrisy and corruption wherever it hid. Judges, lawyers, politicians, they were no longer untouchable. He knew their secrets because he had once been one of them. He operated from the ruins of places that had once symbolized order. Abandoned courthouses, burnt-out government buildings. These became his sanctuaries, twisted reminders of the system that failed. Each trial he held, each coin flip he made, was a dark reflection of the justice he once championed. In his mind, he wasn't a villain, he was balance. But deep inside, Harvey still stirred. There were moments, fleeting and painful, when the mask cracked. A child who reminded him of Rachel, a courtroom sketch found in a burnt file. A song on the radio, they brought memories flooding back. In those moments, Two-Face would rage against himself, screaming at reflections, tearing at the seams of his own psyche. But the scarred side always won. It was easier to hate than to hurt, easier to punish than to heal. Batman, to bore the burden. He knew Harvey's descent was part of his own failure. He had believed in Dent. He had gambled on him being Gotham's savior without the cowl. And now, Every act of violence committed by Two-Face echoed that mistake. Batman tried, again and again, to bring Harvey back to reach through the madness, but each encounter only deepened the rift. Harvey didn't want saving, he wanted reckoning. Then came the crusade. Two-Face began assembling his own twisted version of justice, a gang of enforcers, all chosen through coin flips, all with their own scars. He called them the Judged. Together, they launched coordinated attacks on the foundations of Gotham's law. Prisons were bombed, courthouses collapsed, the district attorney's office was set ablaze, and with each act, Two-Face sent a message. Gotham's days of pretending to be just were over. But perhaps the most terrifying moment came when he captured the mayor. It was a public trial, streamed across Gotham. Two-Face presided as judge, jury, and executioner, presenting evidence of corruption, backroom deals, and police brutality. The city watched in horror, not because what he said was false, but because it wasn't. He exposed the rot. He showed them the mask their leaders wore. And then, he flipped the coin. Heads. The mayor lived, but Gotham would never be the same. This wasn't chaos. This was controlled, cold, precise. Two-Face wasn't trying to destroy Gotham. He was trying to remake it. In his vision, justice wasn't blind. It stared with one burnt eye and one clear, and it held a coin. As his legend grew, so did his mythos. Some said he was a ghost, appearing in two places at once. Others whispered he could see into a person's soul with one glance. But at the heart of it all was a man divided, both a savior and a monster, a tragic echo of what Gotham had demanded, a hero who had to become a villain to expose the truth. And in the fire of that truth, Harvey Dent was gone. Only Two-Face remained. There are no heroes or villains in Harvey Dent's world, only choices. And each choice, like the scarred coin he flips, is a matter of fate. Arkham Asylum loomed like a mausoleum of madness, and within its decaying walls, Two-Face plotted his next move. He was no longer just a criminal mastermind, he was a prophet of duality, a man who saw the hypocrisy in Gotham's justice system and vowed to tear it down, one decision at a time. The law had failed him, society had failed him, only the coin remained pure. As his criminal empire grew, Two-Face evolved from a tragic figure into a symbol, the embodiment of Gotham's fractured psyche. Half the city feared him, the other half pitied him, and some, disturbingly, understood him. His crimes became theatrical, each one a courtroom drama turned nightmare. He judged the corrupt and the innocent alike, wielding his coin like the scales of justice. But Harvey Dent, the man beneath the madness, was not gone. In rare moments, quiet, broken intervals when the coin landed clean side up, Harvey would resurface. He'd visit old case files, read letters from Gilda, or stare into mirrors he no longer recognized. These moments didn't redeem him, they tortured him. The man who had once been Gotham's White Knight now wept for what he had become. Redemption, it seemed, was out of reach. Batman never gave up on him. Time and again, the Dark Knight confronted his former ally. Their battles were more than physical, they were philosophical wars. Batman believed in Harvey's potential for change, while Two-Face believed in the cruelty of chance. Each confrontation ended the same way, with a coin toss and a narrow escape. The line between friend and foe was blurred beyond recognition. Eventually, Two-Face became entangled in a war greater than Gotham won, involving the League of Assassins, the Court of Owls, even cosmic events that threatened the multiverse. Though still a villain, he found himself occasionally fighting alongside heroes, his motives always dictated by the coin. In these instances, Harvey Dent seemed to flicker to life, an ember buried beneath ashes. But fate is not a gentle master. In one of his final and most devastating acts, Two-Face took control of Gotham's judicial network, manipulating court systems, blackmailing judges, and unleashing chaos in the very institutions he once swore to uphold. It was not about money or revenge anymore. It was about proving a point. That law was just a coin flip away from corruption. The final confrontation came, as it always does, with fire, pain, and the flip of a coin. Batman cornered him atop Gotham's ruined courthouse, lightning cutting across the sky as rain poured down on the broken city. They fought not as hero and villain, but as two relics of a city that devoured its own saviors. In the end, Batman didn't strike him down. He spoke. He reminded Harvey of who he was. He told him about Gilda, about the promise of hope, about the man who believed the law could save Gotham. And for a moment, The coin slipped from Two-Face's fingers. It clattered to the rooftop neath, heads nor tails landing upright in a crack between the stones. Indecision. Humanity. Harvey Dent fell to his knees. He was arrested, not as a villain, but as a man caught between the light and the dark. Sent back to Arkham, the city watched with mixed feelings. Some believed he was gone for good. Others believed in Harvey's return. But legends ... they don't end. They evolve. To this day, rumors swirl of a man in a suit with a scarred face, flipping a coin beneath the moonlight, offering justice to the unjust. A hero, a monster, a man forever trapped between two worlds.